carefully. And
By the way,
George,
as
amazing.
I noticed right now by this robotic voice, this webinar will be recorded. Actually, I shouldn't be saying webinar, it will be a live mentoring session. Yes, okay. Guys, let's kick it off and let's have some fun. Let me do the first introductory presentation first, and then we will jump right into the mentoring with Ryu. So. Can you see my screen?
Yes, the magic is being revealed, Piotr.
Yes, I'm sorry. But the technical thing, I'm sending myself asked to record this, which is pretty crazy. Sorry for this. Oh, maybe I should actually approve. Okay. Sorry, just standing in the way. Now. Can you see it now? The guy by the lake? Guys, it's me, head of Futuregames Warsaw. And I'm here supported today by Ali Farah, head of our game production course. Ryu Underhill, producer from CD PROJEKT, is with us, and our beloved students from our pilot course in game production. So quickly, just let me refer to the slide as an example of how we do things and how we cooperate with the industry. Basically, it's a really close bond, if you may brag, as Futuregames, that the Hazelight Studio was built upon your people, your interns, who turned into senior people in the company. So this is our DNA, and this is continuously in our DNA, very close bond to the industry. And we are proud of it, this legacy, and we continue this in Warsaw. So having these producers today on this meeting, we hope they will soon start their careers and their internships in the companies in Poland or international. So this is our goal, and this is why we want to present their skills also today. Similar story with Starbreeze, very close cooperation, co-creating basically the studio by delivering very well-trained people. And this is something that basically enabled today's meeting. So advisory board meeting, a meeting where we hear out the industry and hear the representatives, not only AAA, but also AA, indie studios, game dev organizations. And on one of these meetings in November 2023, we heard clear information from the industry. So, and the information was as follows. Okay, you have game artist, designer, and programmer courses. What is lacking is quality game producer course. And this is why when we reached out to Ali Farha, a senior producer from Starbreeze, and offered Ali running this course. Ali fortunately accepted, and here we are after 1 year. Soon we'll be sending our first batch of producers into the market. So guys, whereas our previous students in Warsaw and in Sweden for 20 years didn't have this comfort of having producers on board, students from 24, they already have this comfort. All of the teams creating games during the course have one producer attached. During each of the courses, students create 4 games in teams of 15 to 20 people, designers, artists, programmers, QAs, you name it. And right now, the rules of the game has changed because each team has one producer. And these producers whom you will meet today, they went already through 3 game projects. One was the senior students project, where they were more like shadow producers, but 2 productions were full-fledged. And this production period, when we basically turn into indie game dev studio on steroids, is 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 7 weeks, and 8 weeks. So these are 4 periods when we produce games internally. 2 of these games are created in Unity, 2 in Unreal. and they follow the regular pipeline of the indie studio. So you come with a green light, you get mentors, you have to pass through the threshold of industry people greenlighting or our teachers greenlighting your ideas. Then you create alpha, beta, you go through proper tests of your games, and then you present it to industry people during jury day. So this is like the full loop during each game production. And the games some of them are brilliant, really, and I encourage you to reach out to our each profile and download them, play them, test them, send us feedback, because there is a lot of fun in them, a lot of passion, and really a lot of creativity and craft. We are about to start our game project 3, and we are really expecting something unique to happen. So this is why this mentoring session is also important for our producers, to get real life feedback from experienced producer like Ryu, because we have high ambitions with these games. They will be presented on events, they will be going to incubations, they will be sent to accelerators, and they will be all over our agenda, all over our communication when visiting events. As I said, our producers will be soon be entering the industry on 20 weeks internship. We have our own student recruitment event. It's called Think. And we went already through one very successful Think, putting our artists, designers, and programmers on internship. If you want to join Future Games, this is the shortest way. Just send your CV, send your motivational letter, and reach out to us. This is the email where we also answer all the questions. Guys, without any further ado, here is our team today who will be talking to Ryu and asking for his mentoring. So we have Ruslan Hamidulin, who was working on 3 games already here. Demon Dial Exorcist, Dashing Dinos, It's a Fish, Your Majesty. We have Samir Kalaskar, who's joining us from India and just lately joined us on site in Warsaw, who's working on the cassette rental, Hamster Carnival, Vanguard, Space Survival. We have Łukasz Mokowski, who's working on Breath, Pursuit of Freedom, Thief of Light. All these games are available on our each profile, so you can test them. Talat Awil joined us from United Arab Emirates and is also on site in Warsaw, who worked on Raccoon Rascal, Gunsmoke and Grimoire, and Space Misfits. Usman Ahmad, also from Dubai, and Dement Dial Exorcist, Nightmare Night, Just My Duck, were 3 games where Usman was working as producer at Future Games. Christian Carlos, Eclipse, Fabled Thief, currently producer at Smoothie Studio. Okay, there are studios already being created, designed during this course, which I'm particularly proud of. Ninad Mozar, The Cassette Rental, In a Bad Mood, Dead Sector. Maria Głowacka, Pentagon Rush, Secrets of the Mansion, and an unannounced project to be announced soon, probably. Howard Wollum, joining us from Norway in Warsaw, worked on Shattered Ground, Tom the Dragon, Jealous Journey, and also some other games, because Howard has a background as game designer. Aman Moria, Demand Dial Exorcist, Growbot, Shattered Veil. Matthew Zardos, Demon Dial Exorcist, Slimebot, Price of Sanity. Emir Mahi Uysal, Pile Up, Ingression, Clonizer. Adik Sharma, Whisper in the Tea House, Fire in the City, Daggerbound. So that would be it from my side. I introduced our students. I introduced Ali, and I will let Ali do the moderation from now on, because this is your team that will be battling today ideas and checking their ideas on how to produce games with Rio. So Ali, welcome.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's so nice that I can lay back, enjoy my tea, because I'm not going to be doing the questions. So I'm looking forward to see what the students have prepared for Rio. It's usually me doing try to be harsh on Rio with the extract informations, but let's see what the students had prepared for today. I need to quickly mention that a lot of the games you have seen in the slides have made it to nominees at the Future Game Awards, where more than around like, is it maybe 80 games from all the sites being, so not only the students produced the games, some of them were actually close to be winning, and I'm pretty sure maybe one, at least one award. Awesome. Without further ado, Rio, it's always nice to have you. We have been doing this, like now it's becoming a yearly ritual. So
Exactly. Yeah,
welcome,
we're old
right?
hands at this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Happy to be here and really excited with the new format with the students. And I see there is a lot of people watching. So hello, everyone joining us from all over the world. Very cool.
Thank you so much. And if you not already know that, Rio is a senior producer at CD PROJEKT RED. He works on a very cool projects, and I'm starting interviewing him yearly at least once. Otherwise, the year is not a year, right? Cool,
Exactly. Yeah.
right. So I'm gonna just relax, enjoy, and ask my amazing students to start asking the questions, and I will chime in where after you answer and see what this leads to. So who's gonna start the first question?
I think I'm gonna be the first.
Okay,
Hey,
how
Ruslan.
you?
Hello, hi Ryu, hi guys, how guests. Welcome to this presentation. Actually, I want to thank the school for this wonderful opportunity to get into the game production and transition into the wonderful world of game development. For me, it's a huge thing, and definitely this approach of learning by doing is the best possible take on this educational path, let's call it. So, as was already mentioned, I got a chance to participate in 3 game projects already. So I gained some producer experience, definitely. But I'd like to ask some basics or some things which are really important for me from the more experienced producer you. So the question for you would be, imagine you are starting a game project with a completely new multidisciplinary team. In our case, it's like programmers, designers, artists, QA, etc. And what will be your approach to build trust and make sure the team is inspired to create the best game possible? That's the question.
Okay, great question. And I think I wanted to mention as well that with the 3 games and all of the, as Piotr gave the link there, they're all available to test, and I encourage everyone to do so. There's going to be some, I hope, challenging questions here. So I may dip between high level and explaining stuff that perhaps some of these guys have already experienced, but I want to make sure there's inclusivity to everyone that's watching. As a preface to your question, as a producer, regardless of your background before, you have to remember you are the facilitator, not the expert. So you have your programmers, game designers, artists, you said, but the principle remains the same. If you have your experts in their fields, you should use those experts properly. So when starting a concept creation from scratch, you need a vision, and that vision should always be collaborative. We use I think across all of gaming, certainly in the studios I've worked, a game development document or a GDD, and you start off with that GDD 0.1 that will evolve into your 1.0, where you can leave pre-prod and start proper production. Not everyone that you work with, if you're working with new hires or some old industry hands, may be familiar with both the process and your process. So I think that time there is your opportunity to include, educate, set the tone, and put your mark on as a producer. So personally, I'd run collaborative workshops that allow each of these disciplines to pitch ideas and priorities. Together, we could then explore potential emotional hooks in your game or gameplay loops. I mean, for sure, that's important to understand these points before you begin anything. And of course, from artistic perspective, your artistic themes or audio. And from there, once you've had these workshops, you can guide the leads or the discipline experts into a shared vision. Take and distill these ideas into the strongest ones, and align and give each of these leads ownership over these best ideas. I think alignment and ownership is key. Everyone is going to want to fight for only their idea. And so making sure to manage those expectations and make everyone understand that each discipline is as important as the other. And yeah, you finished your first GDD when every team can read it and confidently answer, what are we making? Why will it matter? I think these are two very important questions. Pre-prod can also last a very long time. I think a lot of game producers in this early scratch stage want to hit the ground running and get straight into production and the exciting stuff. But I cannot stress enough that if you have the kernel of a good idea, but it needs further refinement. Pre-prod on some titles I've worked with is gone into the years, and for the better. Not always for the better, but take your time. A good idea you can only release once. So just make sure you get that right and you have buy-in from everyone with that collaboration and trust.
Well, thank you so much, Rio. A lot of cool stuff being said in here, and not only I would say this could be also applied when moving from a feature to feature, even whatever you said, this makes perfect sense when developing a big feature for our game and jumping to the new one. We can do the same. Give ownership, delegate to your experts in your team. As a producer, like us, we don't need to be the smartest person in the room at all.
Exactly.
We are far from that, which is cool because you have every expert in their field in the room. Our task is to make sure they have the authority to act on their field and collaborate and make sure that everyone have the same understanding. So when you look at the document, make sure that everyone have the same understanding, which is really referred to. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruslan. It was really
It's a great
question. It was really good.
Thank you very much.
I think just lastly on that a lot of producers will experience when they join the industry coming into a title on a particular phase of development, but it's usually always when production starts. It's rare that a fresh producer will come in on pre-prod. And so it can be a blind spot for new producers for a long time. So really good question. Yeah.
That's really good point. Thank you so much. Actually, that's a great point. Being a senior producer, you will be let's say in a certain product. Like in my case, I work in the live service game, MMO horse game. We have been started since 13 years. So building an MMO from scratch is different than running an MMO, even how much you change in it. It's a different beast. So even as a senior, we have some blind spots. We need to always keep revisiting and chat about it. That was really cool. I just need to mention that all the questions being prepared by the students and from their experience, we didn't interfere. So there's no theme. It's just like from after shipping 3 games, they have some questions they want to ask, or they want to assure their solutions or their encounters where they behave in the best way possible. Cool. Who's gonna be next?
Yeah. Hello. I'm gonna be next. How are you? Nice to see you again. I have a question about how would you mediate between creative ambition of the team whereas the technical feasibility we have while building a project?
Okay, this is super tough because again, everyone wants to use the coolest toys or the newest tricks, so a great example is we all see on YouTube, like on IGN and other channels, like tech demo videos for Unreal Engine, where you see someone walking through a field and it's real, like it's unbelievable, and you want that in your game, but people or regular consumers don't necessarily understand that might work for a 30-second pre-rendered video, or it might work for a tiny demo, But if it's enough to take your breath away and make you say, wow, then it's probably not going to scale up performance-wise in a full game. So with that in mind, there's two things to consider here. First, for me, it's a pillar of CD PROJEKT RED, player first, but also a personal one for me. I always want to consider the end user and how they're going to affect it. I mean, obviously your choices in the game are important to you, but the players are going to be the ones shelling out the money and putting in the time. So player first, 75% of PC gamers, they're on mid or low end setups. So if you've got someone coming to you saying, "Hey, I want to use this, but it's gonna raise the minimal requirements for PC by several graphic card notches or something," you've got to think about how many of your player base you're going to be excluding. There's a reason why previous gen consoles usually have a release for a year or two as well, because sure, everyone wants that latest tech, but it's the minority that have the capabilities to do that. So that's one point. And secondly, as a producer, you are, as Ali said, you're not necessarily the expert in every field, but one of the elements of production is you are the translator between vision and execution. So that creativity and the want to have the best stuff is great. But there's a reason we have tech leads. They're the ones who are able to make the call on impactful decisions, likely in ways that as a producer, you might not even fully understand. You know, you don't know what the engine is capable of necessarily, or you might not know all the coding languages or Perforce like inside and out. And these tech leads are there to give you that advice, you know, let you know that there will be a bottleneck later on or not. But that being said, never say no. I think work closely with those tech leads, prototype early, stress test ideas, evaluate the cost of bringing in a new technology versus the impact of the players. Like, sure, that's amazing, but is it going to satisfy just 1% of your player base, or is this going to make everyone say, wow? I think these are all things you have to consider when making those calls. Yeah, it's tough, and it will always be tough because technology is constantly evolving.
That was a great answer. So to summarize, I was listening, really enjoying this because it's something we face on a daily basis. So first of all, player first, look for impact of our decisions are going to affect the players, not something wow for 1% of even below and ignoring the rest. Second is utilizing tech leads to explain the why is something technically possible or not possible. And I really like this, something I would like to share with a lot of people in here, how we can make that slightly easier by we have a meeting where we bring tech and art together, for example. So the people can chat directly and they can explain why something is not possible. Because what you're asking is cool, but it sounds like it's only that, but that requires us pumping our engine from this to that, which is 2 years of work. It's also, as you said, don't say no, but not only that, explain why it's not possible. So educate people so they start to know the limitation without limiting creativity. We want people to be creative, to come up with ideas, but at the same time, we need to be realistic at what's possible to be implemented while having the player first. Another great question and amazing answer.
Really good question.
Really good. Let's go to the third one.
Good answer.
Thank you, Ninad. We're gonna be going next. Hello,
Yes.
who's talking?
I guess,
Aman.
yeah, I guess I'm the next one. So yeah, hello, my name is Aman. So I've working with hello. So I work with uh, several teams with Futuregames, and I didn't have that much of any difficulties producing them. They were all great people, but there was a time where I was sharing some information, some help with the fellow producers. So there was a time that I wondered that how it is to share resources or sharing knowledge or something like that across a AAA studio where you have different teams, a large number of teams. and where you share resources, knowledge, or expertise of team members across those teams. And is it a best practice, or at some time it is a risk? So, yeah.
Okay, that's another. These are all really good questions. I kind of feel like I'm at a job interview here. So kudos to you guys, really. Okay, so uh, it depends. You mentioned a couple of resources. So let's start with the easy answer, which is like knowledge and documentation. So in my opinion, it should be widely available, regularly updated across teams as much as possible. One thing you really want to avoid when you have a single studio with multiple projects is teams that are hitting the same challenges, asking the same questions, and finding out the same answer twice. It makes no sense, and it happens. I mean, there's a project I'm working on right now where we're introducing a feature, and we're really working to avoid this because both teams want to implement this technology. So each time there's a meeting with this particular technology, should we say, they make sure that the Q&As that were asked, the recording of the meeting is shared with us because they know and we're talking and we're not siloed, that we're both working on the same stuff. So oftentimes as well, if you are having these kind of meetings with external partners, for example, you might not get you might only have half an hour or an hour. So if all your Q&A are questions where they just say, yeah, actually, so-and-so asked the exact same thing 2 days ago, it's kind of a bummer. So documentation and knowledge, definitely, and keep it up to date. Resource sharing, secondly, as if the resource is a developer, is different. When it's done right, it's amazing. It can work seamlessly. When it's done badly as a producer, it is one of the worst things you can do because it can be destructive to relationships that you may have built, trust that you have with other teams, producers, or leadership. Because what can just be a simple Slack message to someone you know is going to know the answer to a technical question, a rendering question, or something, it can turn into an hour or 2 hours of their time. And if they're working on a higher priority project and they don't make their submit that day, you're going to hear about it and it's going to be problematic. So I would say that speak to the leads of these disciplines in advance, as possible. The more time they have to plan, if you know there's going to be questions or resources that you're going to lean on, even if it's just for Q&A or if it's actually for rendering or audio fixes later on, speak to those leads. And it's more likely that the answer will favor both teams with as little impact on the velocity for either project as well. So yeah, I guess in summary, it's super effective when goals and pipelines and responsibilities are very clearly defined, and it's best practice when timelines and your scope is aligned. If you don't do these things, it's super risky. And one of the most important things as a producer is building those relationships and building that trust to ask favors, usually from people that don't report to you. So the last thing you want to do is burn any bridges in that sense. But yeah, it's with strong communication, it works really well, and I encourage it.
I feel like I'm a producer focus hour. When a producer in your company sit down and start to share, I didn't expect we would reach a level where we start talking about documentation and updates. You just, I would love to build on top of your answer. Documentation is we use at my company heavily, and there's something important here. Having good documentation is one thing, but you said something, make sure it's keep updated. And this is what makes the documentation is a good documentation. But how you keep it updated? Having an ownership, guys. Imagine we have a space called the producers. And in the front page, we put all the names and everything. And someone leaves the team. Which one are going to update? Me, Christian, Rio, Piotr, Hubert? We don't know. Don't do that. From my
exactly.
experience, I've seen this is belong to this team, or Ali will take care of this section, Christian will take care of this section, Maria this section, Tala this section. So make sure the documents is being with ownership. Second, I would love also build on your answer, Ria, that when you have someone like a team member being transferred to a different team to help, make sure they attend their stand-ups and their tickets is being decided with your producer where it's gonna land on. Is it gonna be stay in our board and we're gonna just like a normal, or gonna be in their board and the person attend their meetings? It's so important because if you don't have visibility how much work that person is doing, you might end up doing too much on them because you don't know. Like, should I commit to the same amount of hours, but maybe that person is doing as much as in there. So this is what things goes, in my opinion, pretty wrong. So make sure to embed that person fully for a certain of time and always plan ahead. Make sure it's planned ahead, being communicated, hey, we need this person X in 2 months for this amount of time. And always have risk mitigation in case they need that person long, which wouldn't affect your project. So this kind of, I've been there and I want to share this. Maybe Ria want to add something.
Yeah, I just you're completely right. I mean, when you finished your pre-prod and you're going into production, you've got your milestones mapped out from beginning to end of the game. You're going to be able to see in, you know, if your title is a year and a half long, you can already see, oh, here there's that feature next January that's going to suck for us. I mean, you should be able to go through each one and find those leads of those developers and have those conversations super early. I mean,
100%.
it's a different situation, I guess, if you're a super small knit team and you're using external talent. But yeah, I mean, essentially communication always.
So as early as possible, embed that person in the team if needed, documentation with ownership and always updated, because documentation, if it's outdated, it will lead to frustration and you will be surprised how many people quit their jobs because finding a piece of information takes a lot of time because there's no
Yeah.
easy way to find answers. Imagine that you're blocked for half a day or sometimes weeks if it's a multiple, like it's a massive company, because you don't know where to find a single asset you need for Quest development. So don't underestimate how important it is. Great stuff. Who is gonna be asking the next question?
Hello, that would be me.
Hey, Håvard.
It's great to meet you all again, especially to get to meet you again, Rhea. It's
Thank
always
you so
fun to,
much. Same for you.
talk. Yeah, it's always fun to talk to someone else who also loves the Total War series. But Rhea, since we are all now producers and we're all soon to join internships, I wanted to ask you, how would you approach your first month when you join a pre-established team as a producer? Like, what are the steps you would take to integrate yourself into that team?
So this is a great question that every single one of you who are joining an existing company are going to face. I think a lot of people want to they want to prove the reason why they were hired immediately. They want to show that they're capable and display all the skills you've learned as quickly as possible. And I think that's a mistake. My advice is on day one, you're not going to fix anything. You need to fully understand the situation, the processes and the pipelines of the team as they are. So I wouldn't say be a ghost, but fly on the wall and just listen to as many meetings and try and get an understanding as much as possible. So say the first week, attend as many meetings as possible and listen. Meet with each of the leads, have informal conversations with them as well. Take a look at the documentation, the workflows, and with this information, again, you're there a week. Usually with a big project, it's overwhelming. There's information coming from everywhere. So you've got to try and keep it high level, and stay focused because, it's a lot. So end of the first week, you start to understand the project. So you could maybe have a notepad or a Miro doc or start to build a master sheet of where you believe the project stands at a high level and maybe some areas of concern that have made themselves apparent early on. And then the rest of the month, like my most important thing, I'll say time and time again, is building the relationships and trust. So building trust, looking for risk, friction points. Only then are you going to start to have the opportunity to offer value and to start making changes. And I think it will bring respect from the team as well, that you're not coming in and trying to swing the hammer of change immediately, because sometimes teams only need small tweaks. Sometimes they need a complete 180, but you've got to let them show you what they're doing first before you try and make any changes.
Man, I love your answers, to be honest. I really want to add something, but let's see. I'm gonna do a memory test right now. I would be so disappointed if my students forgot. Who remember the first assignment I gave you, the first one, when we start this education a year ago? We have did a lot of assignments. Who remember the first one? You can, okay, perfect.
It
Okay.
was simple.
What was,
Observe,
if you remember?
talk to your fellow students, have your one-on-ones, get to know them, build that
Yes.
trust, and build a companionship.
And what platform we used for this, if you remember?
Notion,
Tool.
because you
Notion.
really wanted us to make that master
Amazing.
document with one-on-ones
Amazing.
and information about everyone.
Perfect. Now you know, guys, why me and Piotr and Riz, when we give you a lot of assignment, we didn't tell you exactly what was the reasoning. So I can, to give some context to everyone looking at hearing this. When our students first approach the school, I say, okay, guys, I need you to create CRM, Client Relation Manager. It's so weird for someone. I'm studying producer at Futuregames, and the first task is to create a CRM, and we have to chat with everyone at the school. Guess what? That's exactly what Rio is mentioning. Building bond, understanding people, build a personal connection, understand where's their birthday, build some personal connection will help you a lot with your professional. That's exactly the perfect start, as Rio mentioned, when you go to any company. The friction points. Don't try to prove yourself that I'm higher. That's sure that will do the opposite, in my opinion. And I would just add one thing of the amazing points that Rio said. There's something called the circle of control, concern, and influence. A lot of cases that when we join a new company, we start to put all our effort because we want to like show that we are super valuable. Like, and we start to try to change things is completely outside even our section. It's like a whole company direction in the beginning. So imagine you're trying to do that change on a high level and you just start starting new, you don't know a good context. This will give you and like put you in a really bad spot, in my opinion. So you can Google that, the circle of concern, and you can, my always advice, put your energy where you can control things. And of course, when you can influence, but not when it's completely outside of your control, which is called concern only. Yeah, great stuff. Thank you.
Great advice,
Rio, want to
Emily.
add something? Thank
No,
you. And thank
just
you
great
for
questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool. Who's gonna be next in line?
Hi, I will take the next one. Hi, Rio. It's really cool that you joined us to share your experience.
Hey,
Hello,
Maria.
everyone. Yeah, so we talked a lot about documentation already and about entering and meeting your new team. And I wanted to ask you what would be your advice on monitoring progress, catching blockers when working with a new team, especially with a remote team that is working on a short-term project. So how not to overwhelm them with documentation, with a lot of questions, and at the same time to keep track of the project.
So great question. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. But yeah, this is a tough one. I actually do this every day right now as well. We have remote developers working on the projects that I'm producing. And I think these remote workers always want to paint the picture that everything's fine. I mean, not always, but most of the time you're getting a rose-tinted glasses view of the actual reality. And so striking that balance between being overbearing and micromanaging and just being present is and making sure that they know you're available for questions, it's really tough. So in the first week or two, when there's a new team, kind of like the previous answer, actually, is I will just listen and see how they are going to work. If there's immediate like red flags and risk just from listening, then perhaps you need to speak up. But I like to give the external partners the opportunity to work, be autonomous, and not feel like they're everything they do is going to be a mistake or critiqued. So at least, yeah, try and be that fly on the wall for all of their meetings for a week or two. Listen, build trust, and then yeah, for data, I mean, hopefully they're using the standard tools. For myself, I like to build custom Jira dashboards to track progress and to see how that's progressing. You can tell a lot without having to ask any questions with a great dashboard. So that's a good tool to have. And as that time has progressed, the first couple of weeks, there's always a few relationships that you make, someone with I don't know, a similar sense of humor or the same pillars of game dev that you believe in. So as soon as I start to identify those individuals, then I'm dropping some informal one-on-ones or DMs, having a chat about the world for 5 minutes, but then also they're relaxed. You can discover blockers early. You get the inside scoop that they're not going to say in a meeting with the rest of their peers. So yeah, trying to identify those relationships and without kind of burning that bridge straight afterwards. Like someone tells you that someone's not pulling their weight, and then in the next meeting that's brought up. I mean, you've got to balance that, but yeah, making your availability known with a few messages on Slack here and there, but not being everywhere. It's about being present, not omnipresent. So provide that support for them without making them feel like it's 1984. Yeah, it's hard, but you will find that balance and clarity. And don't swamp them with a requirement for documentation right off the bat as well. Let them do their work. Documentation is important. Your team will likely have the documentation that they need and they can use. So as long as you're seeing the main checkpoints of a milestone and the health of the project, I think the documentation can come later. You said it's a short project. Maybe it's not even important at all that they do that update. Just let them work. So yeah, good question.
Great stuff. We should
Thank you.
me and you write a book. The big producer is watching.
Yeah, exactly.
The 1984. Thank you so much, Maria. Great stuff. So create a safe space to start with, as you suggested, and develop a tool that allow you to figure out a lot of the insights without asking this many questions frequently to people. Is this done? Where are you with this one? So make sure your board reflecting the actual real transitions. So don't have hidden transitions. Make sure that all visible on Jira, so you don't need to ask. Use dashboards, so you don't need to ask even more questions, and build a good relationship so you can have this insights, or someone is just shy to share in front of a big group where they feel more confident to do that in one-to-one. This is really, really good.
Can I just add something as well?
Yes,
I think
please.
This is something I believe in across all of production, but certainly with external partners who are maybe unsure where they stand, or they're afraid of losing the contract, or something like that. I think everyone makes mistakes, and if it's not a mistake that's gonna break the game forever or ruin everything, then it's a learning point and it shouldn't be a punishment. I would I think it's so important to foster an environment where your team, your external team, whoever is able to say, hey, I don't understand this, or, oh, you know what, we're not going to finish this sprint. Here's why. And use that because most of these developers, once you have a mistake like that, they're not going to make that mistake again. They feel bad enough already. And I think it creates a lot of good trust to approach things that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this even extra valuable insights. Thank you so much, Maria. And by the way, if you're attending Digital Dragons, we're so happy to share that Maria will be on the stage speaking. We're a proud team. So if you are at Digital Dragons, make sure to drop by Maria's talk and get to know her, and the rest of the colleagues will be there in person. Awesome. Who's going to be next? No one?
Christian, we can't hear you.
I can be next if Christian has a problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Ali. Hi, Ryu.
Hi, hello.
Nice to see
Hello.
you guys. Yeah. I just want to say thank you, and I cannot appreciate more the impact you had at the beginning of my career. It was just 9 months ago. I remember that first webinar with you, and this was the reason of my key decision to start this career. So I just want to thank you guys for that, first of all. My question is that, my question is that as future games creators, we are so focused and we're entering the high commercialized industry, right? And we're so focused, and from every corner I hear about monetization, make sure we have this priority and all that stuff. But going a little bit further than that, is there any ethical line? Because we are creating something that especially young audience will be playing a lot, right? It will affect their cognitive thinking. Is there something in production which we need to take care of to make sure that we have a good impact, especially to the young audience? Thanks so much.
Yeah, this is super important. I'm lucky enough to be working for a studio that has a great record of player first. So this is not an issue that I necessarily face in my day-to-day. But it is something that I've faced in previous studios. And if I was starting out on my own, it would be, as you say, draw that firm ethical line. For me, that's no manipulation or lying to the player, and no exploitation, especially for the really young audiences. I think that kind of loot crate, pay to win element of a lot of titles these days, personally, I speak for myself, I'm very much not a fan of. And if it's a younger player, it can develop, gambling tendencies and have unknown consequences. So yeah, it's really important, especially when you consider the age rating of your game that you're distributing to. So yeah, no manipulation, no exploitation. I'm trying to mention my previous experience without mentioning any names. Yeah, in the past, I was on a team that faced immediate backlash from players for pay to win, and we had to make changes immediately. I think if question the mechanics of the game that you're making, and what do those mechanics do? Are they rewarding the natural curiosity of a player, or are they reinforcing a compulsive behavior where they're going to do this again and again and again? I mean, depending where you're going to work, commercial goals and monetary elements are going to pressure game development towards harmful design in a lot of cases. I think AA or indie games are less experienced in this, so it's even more important. But yeah, if commercial goals are pressuring us towards harmful design, speak up, keep that ethical line, keep your ethics, because I think that long-term player-based trust is going to outweigh a rug pull, a loot crate, a quick buck, a coin pump. So yeah, super important.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Osman. That was actually a great question, great answer. So to summarize, make sure that when you start a new company you always have the mission statement, like what we're trying to achieve with this game or whatever we're building. Then we have something called our values. You need to start by having everyone aligned. We value this and this and that. And education in dark patterns and exploiting, as Rio mentioned. The more we know about dark patterns, the more we are carefully away from it. Sometimes designers, by mistake, create something so satisfying and appealing, becomes unaware how much could be addictive. So there's no bad intention. It was all, and as we mentioned, it's just lack of experience from AAA and those like companies. So awareness, that's something on us. We can talk more about it, watch a GDC talk or more Game Maker Toolkit about dark patterns and try to avoid them and try to change if we have that to any level in our game. On top of that, understand legislation if your game targeting younger audience. It's so important. I feel lucky enough to be working with a game that our players are minors. There's a lot of things we need to have in mind. So always need to be up to date with legislation. And I'm gonna share something insightful with hopefully with all of you. If you watching this, you could, even though you work in the industry, a lot of people don't know that you could put plus 18 in your game to avoid a lot of complexity with having younger audience. If your game feels and appeals younger audience, it applies anyway. So don't feel like, oh, I put plus 18 and avoid all this like paperwork. No. If your games is like small pony and pink stuff and cheap and all like fluffy, it's for girl. It's for kids. No question.
The kids are gonna play it as well. Kids will
Exactly.
find a way to play any
Exactly.
game.
Exactly. They're gonna lie about their age. They're gonna steal their mom or dad email. So be aware of that. Be aware of legislation awareness. Great question. Great answer. Thank you so much, Christian. Is it working?
Hello, is it working now?
Now it's working. You should be a
Yep.
technical producer.
Yeah, it's just a mic decided out of nowhere.
That's why you should be a
Yeah,
technical producer.
yeah. Hello, everyone. Sorry,
Hey,
technical problems. Hello, Ryu. Always nice to see you, especially
same
since the first
Christian.
webinar in September. So good. So my question is a bit more about development, but I know you're a publisher producer, so I think it also applies. So the question is, when the game, or in your case, the project or the campaign of publishing, is at final stages in polishing stage, when some of the disciplines of the people have like less things to do, how do you prevent them to like get bored and start thinking to add more cool features that will affect the overall plan, the scope, and everything?
Great question. I think it, there's two elements to this to look at. So you don't want to stifle creativity, but if that creativity is at the cost of the finish line or your deadline, then obviously that's problematic. I would say documenting all new ideas or the really good ideas for post-launch. Creativity is encouraged, but yeah, as I said, not at the cost of the final dates. If it's a real worldy of an idea, like, oh my God, we have to have this, and you will get those, then it's your call to pitch these ideas to the game directors or leadership and to fight that cause for or the case for the person that brought the idea. Um, One thing that your team won't recognize that you do is you will be fighting for them and their ideas a lot, and they may never know that you're fighting for them. You know, you can take ideas to leadership, make the best case, and it won't make it. But if you told that person you're going to fight for that thing, you know, you're going to give false hope, and that can create, you know, negativity later. It's really tough. I think this is when morale management is critical. You mentioned boredom. So when I think of boredom in gaming, I'm going to link him after this that I mentioned him. So I have this Aussie friend called Tim, and we worked on a couple of projects previously. And he's one of like the most talented environment artist, 3D artist I know. He does and could at the time design entire levels without any problem. But on this particular project we were working on with a very well-known IP, he was told to make rocks for 4 months, just rocks. And I mean, these were amazing rocks, but it's boredom and it's tough. So what he didn't have is responsibility rotation. It's not always possible. If you only have one 3D artist, then sometimes that's what they have to do, and they have to understand the big picture. There's no small cogs in game development. There is going to be boring stuff like QA reviews where you're playing the intro of the game 500 times in a week. It happens, and that is the tough part of game dev is trying to keep that morale up. So I would say the creativity and those ideas, that scope creep stuff, it's not, you're not saying no and it's not being lost. You're noting down those ideas and fighting for them where you see necessary. And then the other side of it is you're definitely going to be doing either milestone updates or weekly updates with the team. And it's at those updates where you're not just talking about progress or the health of the project, but if some amazing rocks have been made this week, show the rest of the team. This guy has been working 12 hours a day to make rocks. Like give some respect to this, because it's tough when you are focused only on one thing. But the good stuff comes. I mean, he's created levels for amazing AAA games, but there will be times during the development period where it's going to happen. So yeah, morale and don't let the creativity get lost.
Thank you so much. Making rocks for like that amount of time, man. That's a tough one. In the gaming industry, this always gonna happen. What makes games are good are those small details and the interaction with them. And each one piece makes the whole experience amazing. But doing only that focus and for a long time could be boring. So what I also found, as Rio mentioned, that sometimes we're able to assign people to something they're excited about. So that's knowing your team very well. I have a guy in my team. He loves technical debt. He loves go to all technology and just fix it, which is so boring. And more people want to do flashy stuff. So when you have this knowledge, I know if I assign that person to more of that side, that person won't complain. They would like take it more. In some cases, you cannot do this balance because you don't have that privilege. This is what needs to be done, and it needs to be done. So you don't have that. Second tip: if someone is working on a longer project, make sure the next one is smaller in size as a refreshment in between. So there's some things we can do as a producers to keep the morale high, but sometimes we don't have that privilege. The job needs to be done. So in some cases, sadly, I don't see any really good solution, except make sure to capture the feeling, make sure to support them in any way possible, but the job needs to be done. Tristan, do you have a counter point maybe or additional question? I don't know.
No, it was offense, but it's like a mini comment at the end saying that I think sometimes we underestimate how much like a conversation of some words can mean to the other person, like in the exact moment. And I think with practice, for example, in producers, we develop like this sixth sense. Like they're saying, "Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm doing fine, my rocks." But you feel like there's a need. Okay, this guy needs to talk. So it's
Exactly.
super super crucial.
That's
I
you go,
completely
Rio.
agree. Yeah, you
That's a great point. That's seriously, don't underestimate the power of really being kind. I'm gonna quickly share something happened to me. My first leader role, the first week I had a big problem. I was excited. I got a new role. I got more salary. Then everything went wrong. Everything. So I went to a guy. I was explaining like, I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated. That person didn't tell me what to do. You remember, guys, when we chat about mentoring and coaching and how to trust the person. That person, you know what that person did? He left a Red Bull. It's not sponsoring this. Left a Red Bull on my desk. That's it. That Red Bull, maybe that's all I needed to continue going. Seriously, it was. I felt so happy when I saw it. I took some time down and I managed to solve the problem, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And I didn't understand why he did this. Now I do understand why he didn't tell me what to do. He trusted that I will solve it. But being kind with this just small act of putting something on a table, a nice word like Christian say, is so powerful. That was a really good. I'm glad you added this, Christian. Really good point. Okay, let's move on before we're getting more emotional. Who's gonna asking next?
Yeah, it's me. Hello, Ryu. Nice to see you again. My question is related to a very common practice in the industry, what we call it as killing our babies, right? Uh, so yeah, my question was, as producers, what are the factors that we should consider uh, when we decide to cut a feature or to you know move forward the deadline for the project?
Yeah, that's a great question. The so feature scope and cutting is always difficult because you believe that every element of it should be there, especially if it's an idea that's been developed for a long time, and then perhaps those cuts are coming really late, and so everyone has thought and believed that that part will be in the game for a long time. It's even harder. So weigh the impact of the feature and the cuts that you're making. Again, player first, the value to the player of those cuts. Like if you've got a narrative mission or some cosmetics, which are you going to look to cut first? You're going to go for the cosmetics, right? So player value. Another super, super important point is stability risk. There are cuts that make sense on paper that will shave weeks off the schedule, but actually, if you remove that, it will break a fundamental feature of the game and will take weeks to fix. And actually, it's probably faster to finish the feature than to make that cut. That comes with experience, and that collaboration with speaking with the different leads is what are going to save you from making mistakes like that. But yeah, that's an important factor. Team morale as well. Once baby, it's going to be a super bummer. So maybe try and I think you can make 100 small scope cuts and avoid removing a whole feature. But if it threatens the schedule or the polish, then it's a candidate for removal. Yeah, consult those leads, consider alternatives. It's a personal motto or like ethos of mine that you can cut features and keep cutting and keep cutting until they feel incomplete. I think if it's cosmetics or enemy types or weapons or ammo types, whatever it is that you're streamlining and trying to make sure that you're not moving that delivery date, you can keep cutting. But if that feature, when it's finished, feels like it's missing stuff, if the players, well, surely there's more to this, then it shouldn't go in. You either cut the feature completely or you put back some of that scope. It's definitely a balance. So features should always feel complete, and you can have your cake and eat it and keep them in and hit your deadline, but you've got to strike that balance, right? Yeah, it's a tough one and involve everyone, the leads, the directors. It's a group decision again.
I like when he said killing darlings or babies. Like it's really common in our industry, and you're gonna do that as a producer, no question. You're gonna do that. You're gonna do that. There's like absolutely no escape from that hard decisions. But you said something. My dad he used to be a carpenter, and he said, measure twice, before cutting any piece of food, which is exactly what you said. Look, the impact of cutting things, it could cause more damage and even more work to have a feature flag to turn it off because it's halfway done. Always build an understanding. Don't take fast decisions when you take cutting any feature. Second, explaining why you're doing it. Sometimes people say, no, we cannot do this, but don't explain why we take the decision. And have this really safe space and explain to your team it's not personal. Because people in the gaming industry, guys, if you're listening to us from any different industry, as a producer, me, Rio, and all these amazing producers we have in the room here, the industry is different, that people are so passionate to a level we need to stop. Like it's the opposite. Like motivating our team is not a problem as much as is holding the ideas from coming, which is very common problem in the industry and maybe creative industry. Rio, like what do you think of do you agree that it's kind of really compared to any different products, it's completely different?
Yeah, you're trying to please everyone at the same time as making sure that leadership are happy and you've hit those targets. I mean, it's wild. You're spinning plates all the time. Yeah, it's definitely a different beast.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samir, for the question, Rio for the answer, and let's go for the next one.
So it's gonna be me. Hello, Rio.
Hey, Wakash.
So yeah, probably this situation is gonna happen like in every team. So I have a question: how do you deal with the situation where team members are overlap in their responsibilities, like leading to conflicts, leading to delays in the project?
Yeah, it's tough. I think defining and clarifying the scope and responsibilities in writing. So when you're in the earlier stages of a project or even mid, I mentioned earlier that keeping documentation updated. If you've got things written down, it should be in no uncertain terms who is the owner of what. If overlap emerges later in the project, then bring them together. You are the facilitator, you're the unblocker, the lubricant to the solution. And so call a meeting, bring the teams in, co-own a resolution that everyone's happy with, and then again, in writing, document these handoffs clearly. It's definitely about reminding people that they're all working towards the same goals, and it's like a shared ground, because yeah, people can get possessive, and it can become a battlefield if it's left unchecked. So yeah, it's a tough one, but I think yeah, documentation and making sure that people are talking with a mediator in the room so that things don't get out of hand.
Thank you. So, I mean, you said something super valuable, and that works for a lot of things. If you please listening, remember this documenting, as Ryu said. He said document multiple times, because you could say that in a meeting, and some people hear things differently and have a different understanding. But when things are documented with details, we use that in even like a role description, and use that for project charters. When we have a new projects, we state who's driver, who gonna be informed, RCI, who gonna be informed, who gonna be consulted. When you have that stated and you give everyone and need to sign, we call it signing off, basically just approving. So everyone understand, I'm gonna be this and my role is gonna be only approve. If they feel it's not the right case, then you can raise that. If you don't have that written, it will lead to a conflict, and communication will be always an issue. So document things always work,
Yeah,
or at least help a lot.
Paper trails, email threads, absolutely. Always make sure that you've got a reference you can go back to and say, hey, look, we clearly outlined this here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why make sure that your team members communicate using a public channels for the project, a Jira ticket. Private one-to-one conversation couldn't be. Sometimes some people miss some piece of information, but like, I didn't hear that. Oh, but I said that to that person, but where's that? It was in one-to-one. Yeah, then I couldn't see
or a
it.
DM.
So make sure or DM.
Yeah.
DM usually it's not the best unless it's personal. So make sure the conversation happen. Even though you speak with one person back and forth, make sure that happen in a public channel if it's around a certain feature or delivery. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Lucas. Rio again. Next question.
Hello. Nice to meet you again, Ryu. I sound sick because I am, so sorry for that.
Hey, Tala. I'm sorry you're sick.
No worries. I wanted to ask you how you balance between advocating for your team members in a project, providing them with a safe space, but also ensuring that they do feel a sense of accountability and meet all of their deadlines.
Yeah, okay. As a producer, you're advocating for the team every day by protecting their time, pushing back on unnecessary scope or responsibility, and again, making sure that things like rocks, credit is highlighted and shared amongst everyone, keeping that morale high. And when someone feels like they did a good job, they feel like they're going to be recognized for doing that. So I think that's the way I'm always advocating. And you can get really into the weeds with this, like how well you planned your sprint, is an advocation as well. But at a high level, protect the time, scope, and make sure they feel the love from the work that they're doing. Accountability. I think I go into it initially with team members perhaps I haven't worked with before, or even if I have worked with them before, is autonomy. You give them a clear goal and you let them work on it. If they make a mistake and understand that they have the ownership of that outcome, they're naturally gonna either not make that mistake again, and then they're going to take pride in their work, which will continue to build the accountability. So I think, an earlier question was about micromanaging. I think just that small act of showing that person that you trust them to own this, and it's a big deal, that you believe in them, they're naturally going to want to make sure that they do it. And a mistake should not be punished. It's a learning point, which I think I mentioned earlier as well. Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tal. If you can maintain this serious voice, no one will dare to do mistakes. It's like the sick voice. I hope you recover fast, Tala. Trust, right? It's a word we have mentioned multiple times, but trust people, they're able to do it. Treat them as an adults. If they have some problem, be it the soundboard, don't give your solutions. Trust them, they will have even better solutions. They are the expert in their fields. So it's all about the trust. Giving some tools will allow you to track things and figure out blockers without micromanaging. As Rio mentioned, dashboards, a tool that tell you a ticket being longer than it should. I actually added this automation that if a ticket being in waiting for testing for more than a few days, we attack the person. Hey, is it like, do you need help in here or something? So you can do a lot of things without sound like you're interfering with the trust. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Tara. And I hope you recover very soon again. Who's next?
I think I'll be next.
Okay, Emma, floor is yours.
Okay, my question is, how do you retain your team's motivation to continuously improve the game? Maybe after you get mostly negative reviews about your game's initial demo, or maybe the early access version, or even the full release?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I mean, the hardest part in game dev is immediately post cycle. I think all game studios can suffer from exhaustion, or if they've pushed super hard to get a release out the door, the last thing any developer wants to do is to suddenly jump in and try and do massive fixes. So you've got to be a real cheerleader and remind people that if the core of the game is good, which I always hope it is, then it can be rescued, it can be saved. And yeah, I mean, if you do the work early, you can avoid crunch later. But really, this is your tool, the boosting of morale and reminding people why their work is important, that will grow over time, and you'll become more of an expert the more times it happens. But you've got to also accept that people will leave studios for reasons like this. They might leave projects or switch disciplines, and it's not your fault either. That is a natural part of game dev. It's your job to try and retain as many as possible, but you, again, can't take it personally if, I don't know, your favorite 3D artist left or something like that. It's a really, really hard part of dev to get people up, especially if you're working on a franchise as well. Something I think either a project that everyone believed in and then perhaps got difficult reviews, or if you're working on a franchise that comes out every year or every 2 years, you know, that fatigue is normal and natural. So yeah, it's one of the hardest jobs you're going to have as a producer, and it's kind of a tough answer, I guess, to say that you'll get better over time, but you will. Just be that cheerleader and remind them why their work is so good.
That's a really good question, and it is a tough one. And sometimes, as we mentioned, you cannot do much. The game didn't resonate, and sometimes in the gaming industry, it's unfair. You do everything correct, but you just happen to be in the wrong time. It happened with great games. Titanfall 2, an amazing game, just happened to be released with two titans in the gaming shooting games, was Call of Duty and Battlefield. So sometimes things you have done everything correct. So I highly recommend in this kind of situation, do a post-mortem to make sure that the project failed, but we have learned, we have grown. So make sure to have everyone in the room and discuss what went wrong and how we can improve for the next one. So at least highlight it was a good learning opportunity. Yes, it was expensive. It's painful, but let's not make it a waste of us growing as a company. And it might bring people even together as something motivational to turn on the table and do something more meaningful. And sometimes this feeling always happen anyways, even though everything is successful. Why is that? Because we're stuck in production delivery mindset. We don't celebrate milestones. As a producers, we have a duty to make sure that we stop for a second and celebrate a delivery we have done, a big feature, a big milestone. So celebrate as much as you can, always healthy, a post-mortem after success, and maybe a winning. To use that as a blueprint for your next project. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Emir. Thank you, Rio.
Yeah, thanks,
Who's
man.
next? Thank you. Who's next?
That's gonna be me. Hi Rio, hi Ali. I think it's like we've already heard a lot from Rio, and thanks for the insight. To be honest, like those answers are really gonna help us. So, as an aspiring technical producer, I just want to ask you that, like, suppose how do you manage uncertain task, like which has how do you manage task which has uncertain deadlines? For example, some R&D project, like some R&D feature or something, it's because you can't predict like you're gonna complete it or not before the production, or like how do you think about those things, like which are which are which your team is creating from scratch, like they don't have any references or something, so how do you look at those features and manage them?
That's a really good question. The answer is buffer. The whatever estimations your team have put in for this particular thing, always try and add as much buffer as you can. Yeah, there's always going to be a brand new console generation, and you might not understand that new technology particularly well. There's going to be new graphics cards with new features, and you know it's going to be the first time that a lot of your devs will be using these. So there's always uncertainty with these things. I think there's stuff like middleware where perhaps, I don't know, there's a version coming out at some point this year that will enhance the frame rate of low-end devices. In fact, that is a specific thing that's happening right now on one of my projects. We don't have the date for that, and we need to ideally have that before release. I think constant communication, highlight to the stakeholder of whatever that technology is, why it's important that you get it by that particular date, and just put in as much buffer as you can. You know, the last resort is that you harden and polish the game as best you can without that being complete. And it's a bonus content post-release patch for the players. I mean, that happens more times than you think. But if it's a critical element of the game where the game can't release without it, yeah, buffer and make sure that whoever you're collaborating with, be it a GPU manufacturer or whoever, they understand your deadlines and how flexible you are and the team you're working with, and can they help? Because a lot of the time they may have some devs that can also pitch in. It's in, for example, you know, the big graphic card developers, AMD, NVIDIA, you know, it's in their best interests that they show off their technologies as well. So don't be afraid to ask for their help, their QA. Yeah.
Great stuff. I have done that actually, reach out to a big provider like the name you mentioned. I cannot say it sadly, but they immediately set a meeting. They flew to Sweden and they was really more than happy to show us a lot of things. Buffer is an amazing technique. Start with creating investigation ticket where you task the person not to do the solution, to explore roughly with their understanding, t-shirt size. You know, you can always compare with something. We ported a game to this platform. The other platform won't be the same, but there's a lot of steps will be the same. If you have a requirement checklist, if you have a, you know, if it's already port, like what resolution porting, whatever control, like a support. So you can do investigation tickets. And when it still is unknown, as Ryu mentioned, is something we definitely don't know. The best way is to do regular meetings for that project and try to do a check-in bi-weekly or weekly, depends how big the project is. So until you get a sense of feeling how long it will take, how complex, what things do we need as early as possible so you can solve it before the release date. Yeah, that's extra techniques you could try. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Adek and Rio. Who's next?
I am going next. Yeah, and again, thanks again for your time, Rio. Truly, it remains a huge shock every time I get to talk to somebody who's worked at the developer of one of my all-time favorite games. So I'm super grateful to Futuregames for facilitating that. But
thanks. It's always nice to speak to you, Matthew.
So in my projects at Futuregames and also at work where I'm project producer for a mobile game, something I've run into is I have struggled building sprints because I don't know what I don't know, basically. So since I'm not a programmer, what kind of questions do you ask your team to get to kind of uncover realistic timelines so that you can build those sprints? Because especially Willie, with programming, you can ask for one thing and one person will say, yeah, I can do this part, but then there's 10 other tasks that are hidden.
This is something that only comes with experience. You need to be enough of an expert in every discipline to know when you're being bullshitted with a timeline. That is something that will happen on every project. I think the sort of questions you can ask are like, hey, how long is it going to take you to do this character? Yeah, this 3D model. Yeah, and they give you a time. It might sound reasonable to you. Okay, how long did it take you to do the last 3D model? Or, hey, can I see your portfolio? I want to check out some of your previous work. I mean, it depends on the discipline, but yeah, you will be a jack of all trades, master of some, but it's about learning and making the mistakes where someone said they need 8 weeks to do one character and actually it should have only taken two, and then they just took their foot right off the gas. It's tough. Just try and dig into their previous work, and or speak to their peers. Ask that same question in a DM. Oh, hey, other 3D artist, how long would it take you to do it? You can always reach out to other producers. I mean, you're gonna have producer friends for life here from this course. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, I know you've worked with this element on your project. Can you help me out with some timelines here? You will get to a point where you can make those calls and push back. But if you really believe someone's misdirecting you, then that's what the leads are for. Make sure they have a conversation one-on-one.
Thank you, Matthew. That was a great one as well. I feel like a good technique here is when you plan a feature or wherever you're building, always try with the project charter with what is in the scope, nice to have, out of scope. This will help build a picture. What are we building? Because sometimes for some people, the nice to have comes is the highest priority because they're passionate about it and they have it included in the package. But when you state this part won't be part of this delivery, this will help the kind of build an understanding or a common understanding what are trying to build. Will be one of my first utilizing leads after you said that's actually great technique to bring the expert in that field and ask them to help you with estimation. So what is out of scope and leads and of course with experience. I'm a technical producer, so pulling me in usually tech like estimations is not as easy, especially when being doing tech for long. So yes, sometimes it just comes with experience. That's something we cannot change. And I really like when Adik he said a technical producer. He actually, I know myself and know Adik. I'm not aware of any more technical producers around, so it's nice to see. Uh, we need to say that to everyone in here. There's multiple kinds of producers. Rio is a publishing side. I'm on the tech side. Some will be in the content side, in the marketing. So producers can be in multiple domains. That's good to mention. Do we have any more questions? Or Matthew, you were the last. I'm not sure if I did the count correctly.
I think I was the last.
Wow. Look at us.
Yes.
So, Piotr, we still have like half an hour. We have a lot of people in the room. We have our students in the room. What should we do with the time left? We're not going to leave, right?
I think we can allow to Q&A with the audience, but this time with the rules of engagement will be that you are only allowed to ask questions to our students. So how about this, guys?
That is a great twist.
Do not
that's a great twist, right? Rio, you know you can chill like me, just relax.
Yeah.
So
Well, firstly, thank you everyone that stayed to the end of the questions. Thank you all from Futuregames for the questions, although this definitely felt like a job interview. They were really solid questions and real world examples of problems that you'll face. Thank you for that. I really enjoyed this session and this format. So make sure you pitch a few difficult questions to the students, guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rio. I have good news for you. According to the chat, that you've been hired.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
See, it wasn't a complete waste of your time. Thank you so much, Rio. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
When Osman mentioned that our podcast or session last year what inspired him to be here, and now he's asking the tough questions, seriously like resonated with me, and I'm pretty sure similar to a lot of people. And you guys listening, you could be the next Osman, the next Maria, the next everyone in this room. You could be on the stage speaking at Digital Dragons. I'm not jealous, Maria. I'm not jealous at all. Awesome. Cool. So guys, you have the stage right now to ask our amazing, experienced students in production about whatever you want to know about their experience, a question about production, producer, what does it mean to be a producer, whatever you have in mind. And I'm so confident they will give you great answers. And me and Ree, we're going to be enjoying hearing the insights from the producer directly. So Raise your hand if you have questions to our students, or you can write it in the chat. What do you prefer, Piotr? Maybe writing in the chat would be faster?
Raising a hand and unmuting themselves, it's always the nicest way to interact.
Okay, perfect.
So don't be shy, guys. Just raise your hands.
Raise your hand.
Lucas.
We have one, Lucas from Grip Studios.
Lucas.
So yes.
Just unmute yourself and go on.
I can see that you're unmuted, but sadly, I'm not sure we can hear you, or at least I cannot. So while waiting for Lucas to fix his mic, we can take another one.
Is this working now?
Now it's working, Lucas, it's working.
Hello. I'm super sorry I don't have my webcam on me right now. But yeah, Rio opened actually a very nice topic about estimates and about the buffers. And I think it's very important for us, for producers, to actually go about it and be smart about it. And I would like to ask the students, how would they go about it? How do you think going about the estimates, how would you do it?
I'm so glad I don't need to answer this. I have some hard opinions. It's actually tough one. Estimations is so tricky, especially in the gaming industry with the cross-functional teams. So, fellow students.
Should I go?
Oh, okay. Someone's really excited. Okay, you go. You have your mic open.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
So basically, like for the estimation, we majorly we ask the leads what are the estimations, and then lead ask their fellow developers. But the estimation should be calculated in a story points rather than like in a time or days. There are some times in which you are working on a waterfall. At that moment, you have to, because you have a very tight deadlines. Uh, you have to calculate everything time wise, day wise. So at their places, I guess uh, calculating in the days and hours is better, but when you're working on the sprint, story points is always good. And even on the story points, you can use the Fibonacci sequence. Like, it is very good when it comes to calculating the story points. So I'll give you an example. Like, suppose just fixing a normal text and maybe adding some very few items, like minimum items on the UI, which is not that time consuming. So those things can vary from 1 to 2 story points. And then as the complexity increases, you can obviously increase the story points. But in my sprints, I follow this rule that none of the story points can be greater than 13. If it is greater than 13, then you have to cut it off again in a small chunk, so that nothing is you don't have to climb the mountain. Just take a little bit of steps, and that will really give you really give the confidence that things are working on, that we are moving forward. And always take 20% buffers whenever you are working on, like whenever you're whenever you're calculating the estimation. And when it comes to R&D, because I used to work I have done a very lot of research and development. I used to take around 30 to 40% sometimes even the things you can achieve before time. And if you're late, it can go up to, it can take more, 30 to 40%. So this is how I will go about it.
Thank you so much, Adik. I will follow up on your answer, but let's go back to Lucas. Lucas, what do you think of the answer?
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer. And yeah, especially the fact that if you have something that overlaps, is longer, is bigger, you need to break it down further, and you need to realize that sometimes, you won't get to the part that you actually had to cut off. But yeah, that was already mentioned. So yeah, thank you for the answer.
Thank you so much, Lucas from Group Studies. And Adik, that was a really, really good answer. You have mentioned a lot of things about using complexity to estimate not time, which is story points. You have mentioned depends on your workflow, if it's a waterfall, if it's a shorter one. And you have mentioned the buffer time for the unforeseen things to have that in mind. That was a great one. And Fibonacci, which is poker planning, used to be all technique when you can have 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 5, 13, or 8, 13. So yeah, that was a great one. Thank you so much. Rio,
Thank you.
coming again, but as someone asking this time.
Yeah, I just wanted to add actually that when you're building in buffer, one thing which people don't always remember to do is having a like a ripcord fail-safe backup plan. Like if suddenly whatever you've done, all of the steps you've taken have gone wrong, and that your deadline is going to change, you need to have that backup plan documented and ready to go because it will happen. And you can't rely on your original plan going like clockwork every time. So please, everyone, try and have your backup plan in your back pocket as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ria, for the additional insight. As always, we have next in line, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Vova
Yes,
or
Svola. Thank you.
Vova. Perfect.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
Nice to meet everyone. I wanted to ask a question. To everyone, to every student, what do you think about how can I translate my experience of software development, project manager, and analytics into the game dev AA or AAA experience? I have a lot of indie games released as well, just but it's really teams with 2, 4, 5 people. It's not the teams that works on AA, AAA. There are maybe hundreds of people and so on. So my question is really simple: what is the proper way, in your opinion, to gain more experience in that direction? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. That's actually a tough one. So, how you transfer your skills as a tech background, project management background to more into gaming? What kind of steps you can do? Who would like to answer this? Another good and tough question.
I could say a couple things because I'm actually coming from an even tougher place where my background is in marketing. At least you're in software development and you have a few games under your belt. But what I've done based on Ali's advice is just a lot of networking, trying to stay present on LinkedIn, just like post and share about your experience on there as much as possible and try to meet people. Go to game dev conferences. Just try to get into whatever conversations and situations you can within the industry, and then start small. I mean, you may not immediately get into a AAA studio, but find a slightly larger indie studio or a AA studio, and just really dial in that portfolio and CV and start sending it off as much as possible. I mean, just create connections would be my advice to you.
Thank you a lot.
100%.
That's exactly what I'm doing right now. Thank you very much.
Good. And as Matthew mentioned, you are in actually few steps ahead. A lot of people I've known, they want to join the gaming industry. So you are already there. So please continue. Matthew said really important stuff, networking. You could be the most talented person in the gaming industry. No one knows you. No one can hire you. As simple as that. Be there, be present, connect with the people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the platform to be at if you're going to work in any knowledge work right now. It's a cringe platform. We know that, but it's so powerful. You need to be there. And if you are not as fortunate or lucky as Vova to don't have a game under your belt or relevant, coming from completely different background as Matthew, you need to have an education. It could be Futuregames, could be on your own, like by your own, on like online courses. You need to identify what the skills that you don't have that's required. Do some mapping by reading job ads, by asking a friend. And my biggest tip, mentorship. Why doing it alone? If you can have an expert helping you, and trust me, people in the industry are so nice, are willing to help you. Reach out to them, and there's plenty of them available online. There's a lot of websites and communities, and you just need to book the person and for free, of course, and they're gonna help you. So there's a lot of things. Thank you so much for the great question, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will benefit from the answer that Matthew gave us. Thank you, Matthew. It was a great answer. Next in line, we have Christopher.
Hello. Nice to meet you all. I actually recently graduated with a master's degree in video game design. Before that, I had 2 years in iOS development, and I decided to kind of like somewhat hop industries. It's similar in that it's both programming, but I also wanted to kind of get more of a bigger picture view. So that's why I went for that master's degree. Um, I wanted to ask you guys, I understand from what I understand, you guys have an internship lined up after your program. So are you going to use that to like kind of springboard into a career? And I'm in the process of trying to break into a career in the game industry. So do you have like a process for applying to jobs? I use sites like Hitmarker, LinkedIn, work with indies, Grackle HQ. Do you have any like resources that you would recommend for like warm applications and things like that?
Thank you so much, Christopher. So I feel like there's two parts of this question. The first one is I need someone from the student to explain how our internship works to start with. So who can help us to explain what happened when you do the last project? What's next? Who would like to take this question about?
If no one else wants, I
Yes.
can explain it. Like the way Futuregames works is that the school has realized the best way to enter the industry is through internships. It's to, it's getting at the internship, a foot in the door, and then getting a job after the internship. And for us specifically, after we finish the GP3 in the end of June, we will start the process of getting we'll get into our internships and we'll start doing them as fast as possible. And then we'll be in internships until December, I think. And after that, we're all hoping to get jobs in the companies we're being internships at or in other companies. But the point is, this is the best way to get into the industry. Like just getting that foot in the door, getting that internship, and just being with the company.
Thank you so much, Howard. I couldn't agree more from someone who had it from outside completely without any help. It's difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of job ads doesn't even see the daylight because just internally someone refers someone. It always starts like anyone knows a 3D animator. Oh yeah, I know someone I used to work with in my previous company. Done. The job is not even out. So a lot of jobs being posted internally. At Futuregames, what makes Futuregames different compared to any university or different programs that internship is part of your education. Like you don't graduate from Futuregames until you do your 20 weeks internship with a collaboration, with on-site, with like the company, AA, AAA, indie, you name it. We have it all. We have a good relationship. And a lot of studios, they are in our board meetings and they approve our courses. We have a good relationship. And the beauty that we have something called Ting, where all the students comes and meet our students in person. So that's the best way possible. As soon you are in the ecosystem, things are way easier. As soon you have 6 months at any company, getting your next job will be super easy, way easier compared because you're in this like really difficult to enter market. If you to make that way back to the point, if you're not at Futuregames, so you need to find your internship by yourself, networking, portfolio, a really good portfolio, reaching out to people, mentorship is the best I could think of right now. There's a lot of job applications, but don't feel like down because you will be rejected too often because your application won't even make it after the AI filtering if they are using AI or external partners due to the thousands of applications for certain roles. It's not that easy. So, and if you can find a local studio, consider joining them as an intern or unpaid role, half-time, part-time, you name it. So yeah, thank you so much, Howard, for explaining how the internship works. Thank you so much, Christopher. Hopefully we have answered your question. Cool. So yeah, I guess you're muted, but Christian, wait, what you're doing and what you're gonna do?
I was just gonna add something if
Please
we
do.
have
Oh, please
time.
do. Yes, please do. Please do.
Yeah, so especially for producers, I would say that the best way that the school helps to the internship is that we already did kind of the job like 3 times in the game that in real life it would be very hard. Like, for example, anyone without previous experience, that someone, okay, trusts you 20 people or 15 people in different disciplines, and they trust you to take them as a team and get to the end. So having these 3 projects and then to the internship for them, it's okay, you already did these 3, you have experience. And the other big point I would say is that, as Ali says, you need to be in the ecosystem of the job of the video game people. And here, kind of the school takes you by the hand, if you could say. So in classes, you have mentors that are working in the companies right now. You do the project, and there all the jury are people from the companies. Also, they just come from CDPR, they come from elsewhere, different companies. So you already know them. Then you go to a game dev event or conference. They are doing their lectures, and you know them already. So you can talk, and they introduce you to more people and more people. So it never ends. And then you have Piotr, the stuff that like bring you to the after parties in the events, where you get to meet like very, very nice people over some drinks, and those are like the best moments. Instead of having, for example, to try to get like 2 minutes of one lecturer that is with 1,000 people trying to get his attention, instead of you just meeting and chatting with him very naturally in the karaoke with 10 people. And there you can like connect. And then when there's an opening, he just said, oh, we sang like, I don't know, these Backstreet Boys that time. And I know you were like a producer, so you can like try applying if you want. So it's really the contacts that made the difference, I would say. And the fact that you have already done it in the projects before.
I hate to say this, but your answer was better than mine, actually.
Yeah, his was better.
His was better, to be honest. Like,
still,
I'm an honest person. I'm an honest person. Look, sorry, he said something I forgot to mention. We are replicating what is not easy to be done in reality, guys. 15 people, and Rio will back me on this. 15 people team is massive. It's big. 15 people as a team, as a producer, it's a big team by all means. 15 cross-functional and sometimes plus. So the best way to do the job or to be good at it is by doing it. And that's why we do multiple games plus very close relationship with the industry. Piotr, you want to add something?
Ali, you had the second try and you still didn't cover everything. So I'm happy
I'm failing today. I'm failing, Piotr.
I mean here against my own rules. So students were supposed to answer, but they may not be aware yet of it because Christian and the rest of the team, we are just heading there to this Think student recruitment event, and they are just heading to the internships. But Christopher Punk, I'm relating directly to your question. While you, being a student at Futuregames, you are focused on getting your own craft, learning, whether you are a programmer, designer. We in the marketing team and business development team, we are doing the work for you. So I'm reaching out to industry, to the companies every day. We organize events, like literally today we had Women in Games Ambassadors Breakfast at Futuregames. We had 30 high-profile women joining us on site and having great time and just leaving the school in awe how we run things. So this is like ongoing process that's going in the background while you learn your craft. We do this, putting the foot into the industry by ourselves for you. So you have like agents working for you, building these connections. Just lately, Sperasoft responded to us, and they will be participating in this recruitment event. Why recruiters and companies respond? It's not only the skills you gain, it's not only these 4 games, which is crucial, and this is like the basis, but also we give them, like Ali will be personally advising these studios which producer is the best fit for their needs. So we basically deliver on a silver plate to the recruiters, well-trained people with the highly developed soft skills, which is it's commonly overseen element. When I talk to recruiters on basically weekly basis, and they say we are looking for soft skills. So when our students during the interviews during this event refer to their soft skills, to the things that they experience working with the teams, or these frictions, disappointments, etc., and postmortems, and how they handle these things, they are over the moon. The recruiters are. We never met like game programmer who's actively reflecting, on the process, on communication. We never met designers doing this, and character artists who speak about themselves as a part of the team. So this is why we're so effective in putting our students on the internships. And we really delivered with 23 students, artists and designers. They all got their internships right now, and they are thriving. Right now, there's another challenge with producers and programmers, but we are getting there. We have tools, and we have brand that also supports all these efforts. So sorry for a long add-on,
No,
but this
but
is
that was a good one. That was a really great one. It's basically doing all the connections, the hard connections with gaming studios, and recruitment for gaming industry. We know that me, Rio, and everyone works that. It's so expensive. It's so expensive to find good talents. So hard. But now we have people who have been doing games, presenting, and instead of telling you that our students are good, we decided to demonstrate, because that's what we believe at Future Games is doing and showing. We decided to put them in front of you, and you get to ask them, and you saw what kind of quality of answers they have there. Remember, it's been almost a year, and you could be the next one in the next cohort. If you're interested in any of our applications, we do game design, art, programming, and production or game producer. That was amazing, Piotr, Rio, and everyone. That was the different format. That was refreshing. That was pretty insightful, pretty actionable. Something we can take and reflect on. Something try to apply to our projects, our games, or something to consider to do when we are in a producer driving seat.
And I'm always amazed how much of it, the knowledge you share, applies also to my work in marketing, in running the school. It's all about communication and managing these processes. So I always feel connected on these webinars, unlike on
True.
programming. So
Yes, it's Piotr. What you have mentioned is important. That each one of this room, you can make it to the gaming industry. Don't feel like you're starting from scratch. There's a lot of skills you can transfer. You need to just knowing which one to transfer, or that transfer you can transfer, and which one you're missing, and you work on it. And the last one is creating the right opportunity by showing your portfolio, join an education. There's multiple ways of doing it, as the students have answered. We have actually 2 questions. I guess we can speed run them to respect everyone's time, Juke?
But we have 4 more minutes, so.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that.
How does the approach change at the beginning of a project in order to support a title that has an extended life cycle post-launch?
That's a good one. So let's say we launch a project, how the behavior change when this project becomes from launching title to more support or like live?
Yeah, so is there any tactics that a producer may implement at the beginning of a project if they know that the title is going to maybe have an extended life cycle?
Can I jump in?
You can.
But I'm giving you a perspective from a mobile game industry, like how they do. Like mostly, like as a producer, as a data producer, you have to have the data, like what people are, what kind of feature people are playing more, like what is the retention rate, what is the DAU is going, like how many daily active users you have and how many monthly active users you have. So you need to have the analytics which you have to already add before the first release in your game, like your dev, I guess, they are the right guy to add the analytics. You have to, as a data guy, you have to give them the proper format so you can segregate, you can create a funnel out of it, and then you can convert the data into a meaningful kind of a thing which you can think about, like, okay, I should add these things in my game, I think I should remove these things in my game. Okay, people are buying these kind of things, maybe we have to focus on making more so that you can monetize your game. So these are the tactics I used to do in the past. from the from the monetizing perspective, and from the dev perspective as well. Suppose now your project is stagnant, you don't you it's like you're not rushing too hard. So what you can do, okay, if you don't have that much of budget, you can outsource some things. Maybe you can do some R&D, or maybe you can ask community, your game community, what kind of a feature you are looking on, and you can work on those games. So there is a different direction in which you can go about, like feature creation, then how to do the monetization, all those stuff. So this is, I think, you can go about it.
Thank you.
I think that answers your question.
Yeah, and I think I saw that Ali had to jump as well. I'm sorry we don't have time for the last couple of questions, unless Piotr, you want to facilitate those, but I'm afraid I also have a hard stop at 6 o'clock.
No, that's perfectly fine that we wrap up. Guys, don't be strangers. Follow us on social media. There will be recording of this webinar, but there will be also another webinars, also with the guests from CD Projekt. Rio, thank you again for joining us. I think it was the third time.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you all the students for today, for your input in this. It was really refreshing to see you in action, and I'm very positive. I think we'll get these internships, so no worries. Sorry, Ahmed, for not taking your question. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.